Minnesota Vikings fans, you are listening to the Purple People podcast. My name is Kyle West. I am accompanied by Adam Carlson.
I'm here.
Kyle Smith.
What's going on, everyone?
Oh, I'm so ready to talk about Vikings football.
As am I. I love football, and we got to see some pretty, well, I won't say great football, but it was football nonetheless.
It was good football. It was good football.
Yeah, I don't want to go as far as great, but I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit later here. First, I want to welcome everyone to episode number 175
Ooh, that's
of
a
the
lot.
Purple People podcast. Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting up there.
Yeah.
This one is titled Mad About You, because everybody loved that show Mad About You back in the day. That was classic. Great stuff.
Mm-hmm.
From my childhood, not back in other people's days. You know, this isn't actual classic television. This is the crappy classic television that I remember.
Well, I don't know. Our classic crappy television is turning into retro TV now, so.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
They'll probably be remade into something here in a couple weeks anyway, so who knows. But let's get into the quick hits. First, we got Josh Robinson, cornerback, returning to practice. He hasn't been brought up to the roster yet. They're taking a little bit of time with that to figure out what to do. But it's a good thing that he's out there. He's practicing a little bit, moving around. And it'll be nice to have him back.
I thought I read something, don't quote me, I could be wrong, could be making it up, but I think they get some kind of, 2-week exemption for him.
Yes.
Yes, so I'm not making that up.
Yeah, they have a time frame to decide what to do, and they will end up bringing him up on the roster, especially since, which is a later quick hit, but especially since Jabari Price ended up landing on injured reserve.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty much a foregone conclusion that Josh Robinson will end up on the main roster, as long as he's healthy and able to perform, of course.
Speaking of injured reserve, John Sullivan, he suffered a setback during the week, Adam, which will require some more rehab and a second surgery. He's probably going to be done for the season.
It's a crushing blow, but it also does explain why the Vikings were playing it so safe with the situation with Joe Berger and bringing in other guys. Like, they still have Zach Kieran, and they've got another man on the young man they traded for from
the one that
San Francisco.
The one that we traded for that we were so excited that we can't think of his name. We're just we are so on top of it.
Hey, as soon as he gets some playing time, we'll remember his name. Don't worry.
Involved in the Hodges trade, and man, did that ever work out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's looking pretty good so far. As long as this other guy pans out, we'll be all right, and we'll see what the draft pick turns into. Of course, there's always all that. Sharif Floyd had a procedure done to remove some cartilage from his knee. Will miss several games, if not the entire season.
Ouch.
That's a big one. Sharif Floyd has been playing an amazing game so far this year. Him and Linval Joseph have been just absolute monsters in the middle. And it showed that this team has so much potential on that defensive line going forward. Of course, we'd like to wish Sharif Floyd a speedy and full recovery. Don't come back till you're ready. Don't push things too hard, because as we saw with John Sullivan, sometimes pushing things too hard and trying to get back before you're ready can have bad results. So get back when you can and kick some butt.
Can I say something? Injuries are never fun, but if you're going to have them, I think this is the best time of season to have one happen. What sucked earlier in the year, losing Big Phil, holy crap, now you got to perform. It's the beginning of the season. The San Francisco game was a nightmare. I blame the line a lot for that, like we all did. But take it this way. I'm going to spin it to you this way. If he is done for the season, whoever's going to jump in the rotation doesn't have to worry about the pressure of, let's say he gets injured week 17 and we have a playoff game the next week, and there's no gelling, there's no chemistry there. Somebody's going to get a lot of reps now. Who's going to jump in for him? Is it Tom Johnson?
Tom Johnson.
Tom Johnson will be taking his place.
So we all love Tom at the show. I'm glad that we have a good backup in him. I think he'll do a fantastic job. Maybe not as good as Sharif, but I think he'll do a solid job plugging in. Secondly, I think it's great because if he does end up missing the whole season, he has plenty of time to recover and rehab and come back next season stronger. But don't look at it as a total loss. I know injuries have killed us this year, but we have tons of depth, especially on the D line.
So true. So true. Here's something I didn't know before I found an article about this when I was writing on the Viking Age. The NFL is giving away, well, I'll say golden footballs. I'll air quote golden because they're not made of gold, of course. But they're giving away golden footballs to each of the high schools that helped create the players that have played in each of the 50 Super Bowls. Each high school that had a player rise up through their high school, got a golden football. I think that's pretty awesome.
That's really cool.
Got to see an awesome video of Paul Krause giving away his ball, which was fantastic.
Hey,
Always cool to see stuff like that with the community, past football players. It's fun. It is.
hey, I looked it up because it was bugging me. Nick Easton was the center that we signed.
That was bugging you?
It was absolutely bugging me that I couldn't remember that. It was Nick Easton.
It didn't bother me one
It
bit.
bothered the heck out of me.
Chad Greenway's foundation supplied Hutchinson Health with one of Chad's lockers last week. What that does is it supplies electronics and other entertainment devices to kids that are having extended stays at hospitals. It's a really cool thing, and I'm really glad that Chad Greenway's been doing that.
I call dibs on the next one.
And in other charity news, Chad Greenway also. Well, I'm skipping that one, but
I get to do that one when it comes time.
Chad Greenway was also part of another charitable effort recently. Yesterday, as we're recording this on the 28th, Chad Greenway and several other Minnesota Vikings players, including Brian Robinson, Adam Thielen, Stephon Diggs, they all took part in a charity event with Caribou Coffee to help raise money for breast cancer awareness, as well as to provide services and supplies for cancer nurses throughout the United States. So that was really cool. I love whenever the Vikings do charity work. I do. And I'll be one of the first on the Viking Age or the podcast page or the Viking Age Facebook page to come in and say that I love what they do. Now you're up, Mr. West.
Oh, okay.
Still there.
Of course, nodding off a little bit. Former Minnesota Vikings practice squad member Babatunde Ayegbusi. I am going to continue to put learning the usage of his name, how to pronounce it, to good use here. Babatunde Ayegbusi. He's going to give the WWE a tryout, according to a report from the Viking territory.
Oh, yeah.
Which is funny because we joked on the show that if it didn't work out for Babs, that he should just be a professional wrestler because he is so...
We did.
He is so huge, and guess what? We see in the future, he's going to get a shot.
And if you take a look into past history, those Vikings guys that used to be on the practice squad are having real good careers in the WWE. Look at Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns is going to contend for the WWE Championship again at the next pay-per-view. There's me pimping the WWE a little bit.
Yeah.
Good stuff there.
Brock Lesnar, former UFC heavyweight champion, Minnesota Viking. Former practice squad. Not practice squad, preseason training camp signing.
Right, each of those guys were brought in for training camp and have gone on to do great things in the WWE, and who knows, Ayegbusi could be the next.
You're just full of so much stupid information, Adam.
You know what? I got a question. You guys are the wrestling gurus. Is the hardcore title still around? Because if it's not, Babs should bring it back.
No, they retired that.
Well, they need to bring it back because the Attitude
the PG era of the WWE. That's not going to happen.
The Attitude Era was the greatest. I absolutely miss that.
I think we all do.
Not going to happen, sir. All right, so now let's get to why this episode's called Mad About Chew.
Adrian.
Oh, God.
Now, the first report came out that Adrian Peterson was suffering an illness after he was initially listed on the injury report as just having a hand/finger-thumb injury, whatever it was. And now it said illness. Well, the first report that came out said that the plane on the way to Detroit had some turbulence, and he ended up swallowing some of his chew, which made him throw up.
That'll do
Now,
it.
I don't know why an incident like that would force him to be listed on the injury report. And I thought maybe they're going over and above and beyond because of
The
the
thing with
sort of
Everson Griffin.
criticism they got with Everson
Yep.
Griffin, yeah. So I kind of was just like, oh, well, it's them just being the overreacting girlfriend, and doing that stuff. And it turns out that report is absolutely not true.
Maybe.
And whoever it came from is absolutely fabricated, because Adrian Peterson himself came out and said that he decided to eat some shrimp.
Again?
Again.
Yeah, remember, he's got a shrimp. I sure remember that he has a shrimp allergy, but apparently Adrian Peterson doesn't.
Yeah, he said he's going to avoid shellfish on the day before game day again. So
Okay.
I
I'm not
remember
gonna
hearing
lie.
this before.
I shook my head so hard when these reports came out. I was like, this is like when Johnny Football goes out and they do media coverage on him when he farts the wrong way. I was like, seriously? Come on, guys. But this is why we have the podcast. We have to let you know, because I got 2 updates on this over the weekend, and it shocked the hell out of me. I'm not going to lie to you.
The second one that ties into it here is actually my favorite of the two. The two.
Yeah,
hits.
during the game
Yeah.
on the sidelines, head coach Mike Zimmer was seen putting a chew in, and he could face some reprimands from the league for being caught on camera doing that.
I mean, yeah, I get it, but
It's a no fun league.
is it?
Oh my gosh.
Is it his fault that the camera was on him at that specific moment in time?
Well, what they're supposed to do is they're supposed to go behind the equipment locker and do it.
I mean, there are times that guys are puking in trash cans with a towel over their head. And
there are guys that pee behind
yes,
those equipment
and
lockers out
the
there.
camera will be like, hey, let's just do a close-up of this guy puking in a trash can. So, I mean, it's not like it's really that big of a deal to me.
I don't think it should be a big deal to anyone. I mean, this is 2015. People know that you can still be... what's the word I'm looking for?
Mike Zimmer don't give a shit. That's the word you're looking for.
You can still be looked up to.
Yeah.
Even if you have flaws.
Mm-hmm.
And I
I
think
think it's
even pointing
go
out
ahead.
flaws like that for someone who chews, big deal.
I mean, do you think the kids at home are really looking at Mike Zimmer and like, oh, you choose?
They're looking at Teddy Bridgewater and Stephon Diggs, and they're like, man, I want to throw and catch just like him.
Yep.
This is crap. This is just like that crap going on with that Steeler player honoring his dad with the marks under his eyes.
Oh, yeah.
And they're going to fight him for it. Like, the no fun league, I'm going to say it again and again. Stop micromanaging and worry about something that actually matters. This is a non-issue made into an issue. This is crap.
Totally.
Well, I haven't heard anything else about it since it was first reported that he could be facing some sort of small reprimand. So he may not face anything, don't get me wrong, but the fact that it even came out that this was an offense that could be looked at just kind of blew my mind.
Could be looked at. Like, the NFL's gonna have to assign someone to go back and watch the tape.
They're going to investigate the tape.
Yeah.
Indeed.
We're gonna lose a draft pick because of this.
Oh, gosh.
I'm kidding.
Okay, so we mentioned Jabari Price going to injured reserve. We also had Brandon Watts being brought up to the active roster. Blake Renaud and linebacker Terrence Plummer were brought on to the practice squad.
Plummer is in
And
the
Dante
house.
Foster, once again, released.
Ah.
Poor Dante Foster.
He'll be back. That's Spielman, Rick Spielman.
There's that
Yep.
rule where you can cut players and juggle them and keep them on the team and keep them on the payroll, and that's exactly what they're doing. And we talk about it every year around this time, the juggling of players so you can keep that extra player on your team without having them on the roster, and that seems to be exactly what they're doing with Dante Foster.
Yep, don't really try to understand it that much because you'll never get a full grasp on it, but just
No.
be aware that, there are transactions that are happening and they are important. At least I think they're important.
Well, they might seem small now, but who knows what these guys can turn into.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, look at Michael Motti. He got released and he makes a huge play. I think it was Monday Night Football for the Saints.
Yeah, he
Good for
finally
him.
did something. Way to go, buddy.
Yeah.
I knew that was going to happen.
But like me and Adam were talking about before the show is that they might not seem like that big of a deal right now, but there's a lot of guys that find their way to the active roster from the practice squad that end up being
Right.
darn good players.
One of these guys that was juggled was Justin Trateau, the defensive end, and now he is a solid part of the defensive end rotation.
Or maybe you guys have heard of Adam Thielen. You know, he is a pretty big...
Thielen.
I did that on purpose to see if you would catch
more than
that.
a Thielen.
But yeah, he's...
You gotta sing the song in your head before you say it.
He's kind of a big deal. Charles Johnson, we got him from Cleveland's practice squad, so... You're talented guys out there.
These transactions may seem small and stupid now, but who knows? These are each guys with dreams and hopes, so I wish them all the best. I do. Game review time!
I love it when we get to do this after a win.
It is so much better talking about the game after a win. It sure is. Even a win where the offense didn't look as crisp as you wanted. Minnesota Vikings travel to Detroit. A division game on the road. Something that the Minnesota Vikings have only done once since 2009. Minnesota Vikings walk out of there with a 28-19 win.
Mm-hmm.
It was a sloppy first half.
Those first two drives by Detroit were absolutely scary.
And then guess what? We made adjustments, people. We actually made adjustments that worked.
After those first two Detroit drives that both ended in touchdowns, Detroit only scored 5 points, and 2 of those were gifts.
Mm-hmm.
But before we start talking about the stats and some of the other stuff, it's Game Ball Donkey time.
Oop, I'm going to jump straight in. I'll take the lead this week.
Have at her.
I think I'm probably going to steal one of your guys. Maybe not. There's actually, as far as the second half goes, there's a handful, a solid 4 or 5 you could pick from. I'm going with Eric Kendricks. Holy hell, did we get the steal of the draft or what in this kid?
I couldn't believe he fell as far as he did.
Oh my God. 6 total tackles and 2 sacks on the day. He is a monster. He is a linebacking machine. I hate to do it, but I know they're going to be separated from one playing Mike, one playing Will, all that good stuff, but he might even be better than Anthony Barr.
Ooh.
And I can't believe I'm saying that. He is just a production machine. But the fact that we could have a core, like, let's go back a couple years, the San Francisco 49ers linebacking core, one of those that you fear, I truly believe that this core of linebackers we have could be like that. But this week's game ball, from me, Eric Kendricks. Keep doing your thing, dude, because you are kicking butt out there.
Game Ball, 3rd week in a row. Linval Joseph, here you go. I have to keep giving him the game ball. As long as he keeps absolutely dominating the line of scrimmage, I have no choice. What he is doing right now for the Minnesota Vikings is just unbelievable. And I believe it was Mr. West who pointed out to me that in a press conference, Mike Zimmer said that he might be the best defensive tackle he's ever played with.
Mm-hmm. And Mike,
bold statement right there.
From Mike Zimmer, defensive guru. Big time statement. Big time praise for Linval Joseph. We also decided that we need a nickname for him. Like, I think it's time that Linval Joseph has one. So maybe you guys out there can submit nicknames for him. Let us know what you think for that. I'm going to give my game ball. You guys probably know where I'm going with this. Come on, man. I got to give it to my man, Stephon Diggs. Again, 6 receptions for 108 yards, 1 touchdown. He becomes the first Vikings rookie wide receiver since Randy Moss to have back-to-back 100-yard receiving games for Minnesota.
There we go.
He is our baby here at the podcast. We love us some Stephon Diggs. How about that catch?
He's getting a lot of love. He extended very well on that catch. Teddy did overthrow him a little bit. Maybe Stephon Diggs slowed down a little bit. Who knows how it worked out. Either way, Diggs was able to stretch out, grab that ball, pull it in, and just cradle it and hold it hard for that hit down the ground. That long touchdown. So nice. So beautiful.
Ooh, boy, yards
I am so
catch.
So surprised that nobody. I picked Kendricks in place just because I thought somebody was going to give Harrison Smith some love, or even Teddy. Teddy had like one of the best games he's ever
Yeah,
had.
this might be Teddy's best game as a pro, and he didn't get picked for a game ball.
That's kind of odd, but you know what? That's a good problem to have.
When you have a quarterback that's 25 for 35, he was 1 yard short of his career high. 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. And yeah, he was credited with that fumble, but
That was
who knows where to place that.
I know where to place that one. Not on Teddy.
A quarterback rating of 118. Beautiful game from Teddy. But it's not enough to get the game ball this week. We had 3 other just absolute stud performers.
What a fantastic second half. I wanted to give it to Mike Zimmer initially for turning it around because at some point in the first half, I don't know if any of you two are guilty of it, but I was like, here we go again.
Exactly what I thought.
I was nervous.
Yep.
Here it goes.
You can't be a Minnesota Vikings fan if you're not nervous when you have a whether you have a lead or whether you're behind. There's always that nervousness. It's there.
And Detroit is that team. I kind of feel like Chicago next week is going to make me nervous as heck, but you see these teams that look like they're going to spontaneously combust just because they're so frustrated and nothing's going their way, and then they go out and all the people, even Eric Ebron, good old North Carolina boy, I would give a shout out to, made a huge play.
Footballs.
I was like, man, I thought this guy was a bust being a first round tight end choice. No, he definitely showed up and made plays, and you're thinking, dang it, this is going to be one of those games where a couple weeks ago we were dominating. We can't win on the road, but I'm super proud of the team for going on the road and getting a win. Those are going to be our keys.
Did have that nice play that let the Vikings score before halftime, so I thank him for that.
Mm-hmm.
Going out of bounds instead of staying in. Wee.
Let me not get off track. I'm going to steal it again. I'm going to go for my donkey. We have got to get the safety position fixed beside Harrison Smith, Andrew Sendejo. Sorry, bro. Giving it to you. I want to get the safety situation fixed. I think Adam even wrote an article this week. Maybe it was Dan. I'm not sure. The Viking Age definitely put out an article talking about the 5 biggest issues we have to fix. I think it was Dan now that I mentioned it. But safety's on there. If we can find another stud in the draft, I do believe our defense will be complete at the other safety position.
One of the crazy things about Andrew Sendejo is that he played every defensive snap in that game. Every single one of them. And he also played some on special teams. Sendejo is this jack of all trades that I love as a substitute. I love him as a backup.
Yes.
I love him as a rotational player. I don't love him as a starter. I think Sendejo's contributions on special teams are amazing. If there's a situation where you got to plug him in, I think he can do okay. But I do believe that looking to upgrade that safety spot will be a priority this next offseason.
You basically just described Heath Farwell, because that was essential. And then, I mean, that's not a knock on anyone, because that was exactly what Heath Farwell was.
That's a good reference.
He was just a core special teams guy from Minnesota, great rotational piece. You don't really want them in there every single down, though. My donkey for this week is stupid. But I think you guys will like it when I do stupid things. So my donkey, I'm going to give to everyone who complained when we traded Gerald Hodges. Because I'm going to piggyback off from your game ball. Piggyback. Because Eric Kendricks, like you said, man, you look at just how well this kid is playing, and you go, why were people so concerned about Gerald Hodges leaving the team? Like, I mean, come on, guys.
And that's the thing, too. You said Gerald wasn't a bad player.
No, but he's fine.
Eric Kendricks evolved so fast into a better starter than him. You can't be mad at that. Like I said, this is the best problem we could have.
And he's only going to get better. He's only going to get better from here, folks.
That's true. Mm-hmm. That's true. Oh, donkey this week. There's so many performances that weren't good, but weren't bad enough to get the Donkey Award.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It was kind of a tough week for it.
And since I haven't been able to give this person a Donkey Award, I believe in about 5 or 6 weeks, it's my turn to hand it to CPAT.
Yeah.
Just take turns giving it to Cordero.
You're not a wide receiver anymore. You don't even go out there and do that. You're supposed to be a kick return specialist, yet your most exciting run, you get out to the 22,
Ugh.
which is pretty close to the equivalent of taking a knee. I'm past it.
Well, I mean, he hurdled a guy, Adam.
He lost his shoe and jumped over a guy to gain 2 yards.
I
All
do
right.
believe we deduced at one time that the last time Patterson returned a kick in a game that counted, so no preseason, folks, was something like 2 years ago.
2 years ago, he had 2 amazing returns his rookie year, and that was it.
Yeah, so again, you gotta keep him because he's this amazing return specialist who hasn't done anything in 2 years.
And the thing is we all wait for it. Every time the kick comes back there, I think, okay, this is the time. He's going to break it. It's going to happen.
Yep.
No.
And then he doesn't.
No,
I feel bad because if this were, years past where we kicked it off from the 20, he'd have a great chance. But
I
now
agree.
that the NFL has set it to the 35, it's at least 50% now that it's going to be a touchback anyways. He's not even going to get a chance to catch it. So I do give him that. The rules and the setup for the kickoffs are not in his favor. But I put it on the Facebook page this week. That was me. If you see the initials, I still do the initials. KS is for me. Why do we still have him here? Please do not make a Robert Griffin III mistake like Washington did and tie this kid down and pay him tons of money. Because he's not even going to be. I think Washington should start RG3. We should not even keep CPAT at this point. And I love the kid. I love the fact that he brought some swag, and I hate that word, but he brought swag to the team. He's a good young guy, but he has done nothing to earn a spot. And then we have a 5th-round rookie, a 5th-rounder that has had more production in 4 games than he's had his whole career. Get off the team. Call Carolina. They need a wide receiver, and you can go be somebody else's bust. And he needs to go.
He needs, and in his defense, would defend him a little bit, he needs to go somewhere with an offensive coordinator who is willing to try really hard to manufacture touches and use him as a gadget player. Because Norv Turner is just not, they don't even try with the gadget
He's
stuff
not that
with
guy.
Cordero. No.
They did it a little bit with some jet reverse, some jet sweeps and things like that. And those plays, as soon as they came in, they're like, oh, there we go.
So I mean,
Minnesota isn't. They're not willing to put him in there as a decoy other snaps to make the trick snaps work.
It's just, I think it's a waste of a snap in my opinion. And I'll get off this soapbox, but it's a waste of a snap and a play in my opinion when you have 2 playmakers on the outside and then you have a security blanket and Kyle Rudolph. Hell, you got Adam Thielen that can make a catch at any given moment on a day, or that guy named Adrian Peterson. Like, we're not going to mold the offense around you. That's what we do for Teddy and for Adrian.
And
that's it.
And if you really want to run a jet sweep, you got Jarius Wright.
Yes,
you can't
forget about him.
Yes, you can run a jet sweep with Jarius Wright, and I feel like he could gain the same kind of yardage as what Cordero could with it.
Yep.
Wright or Diggs, I tell you, I think either one could.
Yeah, Diggs is super fast. You could with him too. I think they've.
This team doesn't lack in the speed department.
No.
It's not a part of our social media question, but I talked about it before. Damn, I'm talking a lot on this episode. Love you guys. Thanks. Thomas Bouge made a good point on that post I was just mentioning. He said, why don't we try him out at running back? At this point, I try him out as a long snapper at this point. You got to find some way to keep your keep on this team. So putting him in at running back, sure. I think he's got the speed. I don't think he's built for it. I think he'll get broken in half, but that was an interesting point. We've seen stranger things from other players.
True. It is true. All right, so we ran down Teddy's stat line. Again, just very impressive game. Average 9 yards a pass, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. This is the
Deep
kind
ball.
of Teddy Bridgewater that impresses even the critics.
I love that touchdown to Diggs. And he's got a bad deep ball. You said he overthrew a little bit, but that was a highlight reel. That's SportsCenter top 10 right there.
And it's hard to tell when you're watching the replay of it if Diggs slowed down a little bit to be able to give Teddy Bridgewater a little more time to throw the pass up, or whether it was Teddy overthrowing. It was hard to tell which one it was. I don't know if it was an overthrow. I don't know if it was a slowdown. But either way, I can't believe that Diggs was able to catch up to it and make that stretch. So cool. So awesome there. Adrian Peterson. He was having one heck of a frustrating game.
It's because teams are really stacking the box against him, and It seems to be working more than what it's done in the past, but he's still able to break off those one or two long runs that kind of make up for it.
If that's
Right.
if that's the extent of his season, I'm okay with it.
When you
I'm
have
totally fine with
18
it.
other carries for 23 yards and then the one 75-yard carry, it's like smashing up against a wall. And there were so many times that the Vikings had to pass on third down to pick it up. And the efficiency of this team when other teams are focusing on taking away the run, because Detroit did the exact same thing Kansas City did. They focused on taking away the run and making Minnesota beat them through the air.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the Detroit Lions did something that Kansas City couldn't do. They opened up the game scoring 2 touchdowns.
What's gonna happen when the first team that comes out and they're like, "Okay, guys, don't worry about Adrian.
I hope it happens Sunday.
Yeah,
That's not going to happen.
we're gonna stop
Oh,
them from throwing the ball, and then Adrian's gonna set the single game rushing record because that's what's gonna happen."
and you know what the point for Adrian is? My wife said it the other day. We're all in training in Texas right now, so everybody's, like, oh, let's get off so we can watch football. Everybody's like, oh, AP sucks. He fumbled, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
You don't understand, like you said, stacking the box. The dude's 30. He's supposed to be so old and slow now. It breaks it off, almost scores. And all that pressure that they always kept, because it's going to be one way. All these opposing defenses, you're going to have to pick your poison. And like you said, I am waiting for the day where they're like, all right, cool, we're double covering Stephon Diggs. Somebody get our best corner on Mike Wallace. All right, cool. We'll put Adrian against some linebackers. We'll see how that works out.
Yeah.
That's
We
pretty
saw a
awesome.
pretty average day from Jerick McKinnon, 4 yards per carry, the 9 carries for 36 yards. He came in, he did a solid job. He had one nice 9-yard run that opened things up a little bit. The kind of disappointing part was Zach Line getting carries and not scoring touchdowns. What's going on there?
Zach Line's one reception for 49 yards. I mean, I guess it pays to just be an awful football player.
Be that guy that nobody wants to cover.
Because nobody covered him. He just looked completely uncovered on the field. So I guess maybe Zach Line is our secret weapon.
People didn't see it coming.
Yeah, who knew? I'm telling you guys, start him. Fantasy football, start him.
You'll get some points somehow, some way. Now, when we're talking about the wide receivers, I love talking about targets. So the most targeted wide receiver in this game was, of course, Stephon Diggs with 9 targets. Next, you'd think it would be who?
Mike Wallace?
It's not, though.
Ooh.
Jarius Wright, 6 targets. Mike Wallace, 5 targets. And then it drops all the way down to 2 for Adam Thielen, Charles Johnson.
It's interesting that the 2 most targeted receivers are 2 of the shorter ones on the team.
That is true. That's kind of the Odell Beckham syndrome, though.
Yeah.
He isn't that tall guy either. And Eli Manning loves throwing the ball up to him, like Steve Smith Jr. as well.
Mm-hmm.
Senior? I think he goes senior.
He goes by senior now.
So anyway, it's interesting to see that 108 yards from Diggs. The next highest number is 49 yards from Zach Line, of course, with that catch. Number 2 receiver.
You know what, though? We laugh, but I'll take it. I mean, 49 yards from whoever, I don't care, whatever. It helps us win.
For sure. For sure.
Although it is funny that he had more receiving yards than Mike Wallace.
Yeah, Mike Wallace, 4 catches for 39 yards. I'm still struggling to see the reason to bring him in. I don't think they were expecting any sort of breakout performance from any of their other wide receivers, so I could see them kind of panicking and going out to get him. But I don't think it's quite paying off yet. But we'll see.
The intangible aspect, I know that Diggs talks in length about how Wallace is a mentor towards him, so maybe you can attribute some of the success of Stephon Diggs as being this ready so quickly as, for working with Mike Wallace and whatnot. So
and for stretching out the defense a little bit, bringing a corner down the field on the deep routes.
Exactly.
I get it. I don't like it, but I get it.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of not seeing Jeff Locke for most of the game?
I'm okay with that.
Good problem to have.
Yeah. I think we punted until, what was it, way late in the game. Was it third quarter?
It was fourth
Fourth
quarter, I
quarter,
think.
yeah.
Yeah. We hadn't seen Jeff Locke enter the game yet, and it was kind of weird. It was a little odd.
Mhm.
But he ended up having 2 punts, averaging 45 yards on them, one inside the 20. Another solid day from Jeff Locke, except for the fact he gave up 2 points.
But they wanted him to do that, so that don't count.
Jeff Locke taking the safety. I still hate giving a team points in any situation.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have preferred for them just to punt it away, but I know that tactically taking the safety there was probably the best option, but I still hate giving opponents points. Hate it.
I tell
It's
you,
not like the Vikings weren't stopping the Lions defensively.
yeah, I tell you what I like, and that is also the fact that we really don't have to talk about Jeff Locke in a negative aspect anymore. I really feel like this kid has turned his game around, and he's turned into a
He's been watching those flags.
pretty decent way, whatever works, right?
Another guy that kind of turned it around there was Blair Walsh. 2 field goals from outside 50 yards, 5 for 5. Did miss the one extra point, but still, man, you got to give it to a guy that has been struggling so much to come out and to be able to put 15 points on the board for the Vikings. He scored 15 of the team's 28 points.
And he's under a lot of scrutiny.
Well, 16, including the extra point.
You know he's under a lot of scrutiny right now from probably more so from the outside than actually than what there is inside the team. I believe the team always has believed in him, but you know that he knows the pressure is on from the fans and stuff, and it's nice to see him get back to the Blair that we've come to expect.
Absolutely. Yeah, so Cordero Patterson, 4 kick returns for 107 yards. Brought one out 30 yards that got to the 22.
No.
That happened.
No, what game? When? You have a time machine?
Those are stats. Meanwhile, the Detroit Lions. Matthew Stafford statistically had a very good game.
And
18 for 26, 256 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, quarterback rating of 126.4. That's the kind of performance on paper that looks fantastic. But then when you watch the game, you're kind of like,
the old eye test, Adam. That's what we were talking about the other day.
It's because the impression you got left with. If you just watched the first 2 drives, you were thinking Matt Stafford was going to come out and have a 400 to 500 yard passing day. That's what you thought.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Minnesota Vikings change things up. They move out of their base. They pretty much take Chad Greenway completely out of the game. He only had 14 defensive snaps in this game. And they play nickel almost the rest of the entire game. And force Matt Stafford to give up these short passes. It's just unbelievable how much the Vikings adjusted to change things up on the fly so fast after being down 2 touchdowns. It's amazing. It really is.
And I think everyone on this defense had a chance to hit Matthew Stafford. He was just under pressure, getting sacked, getting hit. And it seemed like every time he threw the ball, there was someone in purple making a play on him.
You want to know how many times Matt Stafford got hit?
Yes, I do.
13.
I was going to make a really awful joke, but I won't do it.
He got hit 3 times by Eric Kendricks, twice by Harrison Smith, Anthony Barr, Tom Johnson, Everson Griffin, and once each by Chad Greenway and Brian Robinson.
Mm-hmm. Just all over him. All over
While
him.
you guys are discussing this, I'm looking at the power rankings as we speak for everyone, and some of the love that people are giving us is just the most funny thing in the world. But I wanted to go back and say that on Stafford getting hit over the weekend. I saw a thread on the old Facebook, and I think Golden Tate was running his mouth again, and I just wanted to ask you real quick, do you have a broom, or do I need to grab mine? Anybody? All right, cool. That's all
now,
I have.
Is that for the Vikings sweeping the Lions, or is that for them cleaning house after the big loss?
That's for the sweep. I don't like that. I didn't like the last game. I understand taking up for your quarterback, but when our defense is just awesome and we're just overpowering your O-line, get over it. Your quarterback's going to get hit. That's why he gets paid the big bucks.
Lions' new play caller, Jim Bob Cooter.
Yeah,
I had to look at that, reread it twice, and that's got to be a joke.
I
But
still think you're making that up.
I
Schefter
wish I
reported
was.
it, so it's got to be true.
Jim Bob Cooter. That's him. And if you look at the numbers on the ground too, Amir Abdullah, 8 carries, 43 yards, 5.4 yards per carry. Joik Bell also averaged 5 yards a carry. This is the team that statistically was getting it done.
Mm-hmm.
Even when you look at Eric Ebron, Calvin Johnson, each having over 80 receiving yards and a touchdown on the day. It's odd to look at these stats and feel how lopsided this game was. I don't know how the Minnesota Vikings were able to come out and contain the Lions the way they did, but this was a real bend, don't break, and they seem to give up a lot less first downs than these numbers give credit for.
This is the kind of game that I really feel like the Leslie Frazier Minnesota Vikings would have found a way to have lost.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And this,
Well, look at the Leslie Frazier-led defense that had to deal with the Washington Redskins on Sunday.
I don't want to look at any more Leslie Frazier defenses, Adam. Don't do that. Don't do that to me.
They made Kirk Cousins look like John
Brett
Elway.
Favre, yeah.
It was bad. It was absolutely bad. But you mentioned power rankings, and I wanted to talk about that for a second. Because I absolutely love the fact that the Vikings are getting some love. But I am not ready to put them anywhere over 15th in a power ranking, and I'll tell you why.
They gotta get in the red zone more. That's my opinion. Okay, you can go.
Look at the strength of the opponents that they've beaten.
Yep.
Detroit Lions 1-6. They've beaten them twice. 1-6 is not what you want. You've got, let's see, the San Diego Chargers. Well, the Chargers aren't doing so well either. 2 wins there, 2-5. Okay, Kansas City Chiefs. What do they got going on? Well, they're 2-5 as well. So Minnesota isn't. They're getting wins, but they aren't beating quality teams yet. And Minnesota takes on the Chicago Bears next week, and even if they win there, you're looking at beating a 2-win team. Up next, you got the Rams. Now, the Rams are a 3-win team. That'd be the best team they've beaten so far. So I'm waiting for that defining game. And it looks like that defining game, because after the Rams is the Oakland Raiders, and the Raiders will be tough, don't get me wrong. But that Week 11 game against the Raiders, we'll see what this, or the Week 11 game against the Packers, we'll see what this Vikings team is really made of. It's that quality of opponent thing. I love the Vikings are winning, but they're winning right now. They're winning some games they should be winning, and they lost to the Denver Broncos. Well, the Broncos are a good team. They have a good record. And they lost to the 49ers, but we'll call that an absolute fluke. We'll just cross our fingers on that one and say that never happens again.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, losing to the 6-0 Broncos, that happens.
By a field goal, mind you.
So I'm waiting for that signature win, and that it hasn't happened yet. I also want to see the Vikings get a lead and put their foot down on the opposing team's throat. That's what I want to see. So until then, I can't put the Minnesota Vikings in the top 15 of the power rankings, even though they are, right now, if the playoffs were to start this week, they'd be a playoff team.
Yes, they would. They would secure that second wild card spot, and I'm only going to be a couple of spots ahead of you. I give the Vikings no higher than 11 or 12, and the only reason why I say that, minus the fluke San Francisco game and not, for some reason, not beating the Broncos when they damn well could have, I'm going to give them that high of a ranking. Can any of you guys guess why?
Stephon Diggs?
Negative, but he is a good person. Adam, you
Coaching.
got any? No. Well, semi, yes. There's only one other team that's higher than us. We're number 2 in the league for points allowed, and guess who that team just happens to be?
Oh, don't say it. I know who it is.
It is. Our bitter rival, the Green Bay Packers, are only allowing 16.8 points per game. We are allowing 17. That is tremendous.
Do you want to know the funny part of that, though?
What's that?
If the Vikings hadn't given up that safety, they'd have the best defense as far as giving up points.
That's funny.
That's awesome.
That's true. See, it's the little things. It's the little things. But I totally agree with you. I don't think we deserve a shot in the top 10, even though our record is decent at this point. Like you said, piggyback, we haven't beaten that quality team yet. I think that's going to come up between weeks 9 and 12. So wait for that.
The Rams, the Raiders, the Packers, the Falcons, the Seahawks, the
The
Cardinals.
Cardinals.
Those 4 games in a row right there. I'll go 5 because the Raiders are no joke.
Nope. And we have
Amari
to play on the
Cooper,
road.
I mean,
And that Rams defense is incredible. And who knows?
We got to rack up the wins now because we're going to be facing some tough back-to-back games.
Absolutely. 100% absolute true.
which is
Got to
why
get those wins coming in.
which is why it's fun to look forward and to go, okay, well, we can win this game and that game and this game. But it's the same mentality that Zimmer preaches to the team, is that you really do got to take it week by week, and there's no such thing as a guaranteed win.
No.
So you
not
just
at
got to
all.
go out and you got to focus on, you play who you play. And I totally get your points on, not wanting to rank them higher based on wins, but these are the teams that we got to play when we play them, and we got to beat them.
Yep.
I will
And
say,
the Vikings are looking at another division opponent on the road next week at going to Chicago.
Mhm.
This game, on paper, it looks like it should be a massacre.
but
those
it's a division
games,
rival.
you
Yeah.
can't do it. You
This is a
can't
must
play those
win.
games on paper.
This is a must-win for us.
Mhm.
This is absolutely a must-win. I want to go down the list real fast. We're going to the Bears. We have the Rams at home the following week. Skip the Raiders game, it's away. We have the Packers at home. I'm going to be honest with you, the only chance we have to beat the Packers, I do believe it's going to be in Minnesota. Then we go to the Falcons. Here's a clutch and crucial game. The Seahawks. They are not a winning team right now, and they are not as good on the road as they are with the 12th man back in Seattle. That is going to be a crucial, I think, season-bending game for us against. They're still a quality team, but their record does not show it. But I don't want to go down every single game, but we've got to keep doing what we did last year, which is winning at home, and then we've got to squeak out some wins on the road. And I think if we do that, we can be that 10-6, 11-5 team that we all hoped that will make a wild card appearance in the playoffs.
All right, so we talked a lot about the Bears so far, and that's a scary game. Alshon Jeffrey returning. He has a history of blowing things up against the Vikings. Jay Cutler, when he has weapons, especially tall weapons, he can get the ball out there and he can make things happen. We'll see Xavier Rhodes possibly matched up against Alshon Jeffrey for a lot of this game again. Rhodes had 2 penalties in the game again against the Lions. However, I know Mr. West said that he doesn't mind that as much because it's Calvin Johnson.
I really don't. I mean, come on, Calvin Johnson. You got to be aggressive, and I mean, I feel like he did a good job of taking away the overall. I mean, you're not going to stop him to nothing. He's going to get his
And let's
yards.
be honest, the time he got flagged when Calvin Johnson was holding his head down.
Yeah, I mean, Calvin
Come
Johnson
on.
was all over him. But they ain't going to throw the flag on him because, whatever. But
He's Calvin Johnson. You don't get rules named after you for no reason.
it's
That's for
very
sure.
true.
Defensively, we don't have Jared Allen to worry about anymore, but winning at Soldier Field is something that Mr. Kyle Smith has talked about a lot in the past.
It's going to be my bold statement, guys. This is the year since 2007 that we are going to win in Soldier Field against the Bears on the road division game. I'm calling it now.
And that would be a big one because that would mean opening up 3-0 in the division. The Vikings struggling in the division, especially on the road recent past. This would be a big turnaround for this organization. It really would. And we know the young talent, we know the coaching staff, we know the ability to make adjustments now. All we got to do is see that translate into wins on the field, on the road, against division opponents. We got the first one last week against Detroit. Let's see if there's a second one against the Bears.
Is anyone else kind of glad that we got the Detroit games out of the way early? Because now it feels like, okay, now that nonsense is over with, we can move.
You're worried about Cooter?
No, we can move on to the actual. We can move on to the actual teams in the division now.
Oh,
you know what I
come
mean?
on.
It's like, okay,
Detroit's a playoff team from last year.
yeah, whatever. No, technically, like, I don't know, like Detroit. I don't know. It's Detroit. Who cares? I mean, who cares? It's really, who cares?
I live in Michigan, so it's big for me.
Oh,
It's a bigger one for
it's
me.
like punishment to watch them on Thanksgiving.
Social media question of the week. What is the absolute worst thing that you would do if it guaranteed that the Minnesota Vikings would win a Super Bowl? I told you guys that I would become a Packer fan for, I said 3 years. I'll change it to 5 now. I'll root for the Packers for 5 years if it means the Minnesota Vikings win one Super Bowl. I'll take that sacrifice for you guys. I'll wear those colors and I'll chant. I can't even say it right now. The go chant that they love.
Gross.
Blow pack blow.
I'll do it if it means that the Vikings get to hoist that trophy. It means that much to me. You guys had some pretty fun answers. Tommy Gunn said that he'd be willing to stop listening to the Purple People podcast if it meant that the Vikings would win.
Touche, sir.
I said,
Touche.
don't you do it. Don't you do it. Mike Johnson was the guy that said he'd label himself as a Packer fan even for a day. Makes my 5 years sound absolutely disgusting. Brandon Olives would set up a booth outside Lambeau Field and let all the bigger female Packer fans wrestle him in a giant pool of cheese whiz.
That's good. I like that one.
Oh.
Stephen Bjoin had several answers. He would dance naked in the middle of Lambeau in December, singing the Vikings fight song. He would watch every Jar Jar Binks scene on loop for 12 hours.
Oh my god, that's torture.
He would jump over the White House fence and try to play tag with the president. And he'd watch Favre's NFC Championship ending interception and Gary Anderson's missed field goal every time he turned his TV on for a month.
Oh.
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 That's dedication right there. Those might be the best ones. I don't suggest you jump the White House fence, though. I'd probably X-name that one.
Yeah.
This one is something I wouldn't recommend to anybody. Thomas Buge again, he says he'd wade across an Olympic-sized swimming pool full of waste retrieved from broken septic tanks.
Ooh.
Swim fully submerged if it meant dynasty.
Oh.
That's dedication right there, folks.
Pretty nasty. Megan said that she'd light Lambeau Field on fire.
Was that Megan?
That's Megan.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's our Megan right there.
She'd just do that. Like, she would just do that.
And Corbin Johnson's up for anything. You just tell him what to do, he'll do it.
I think I finally found my answer after hearing all these wonderful collective ones. You know, I don't know if any of you guys have me on my personal Facebook account, but my profile picture, it'll tell you I love tattoos. I have a lot of them. I'm willing to get Aaron Rodgers' face tattooed on my left butt cheek if the Vikings will win a Super Bowl. That could be my funny gee whiz. This is how much I think of you, Aaron. I think I could do that. I could live with that on my body for the rest of my life if the Vikings could win one Super Bowl.
I had a buddy who, he's a Packer fan, and he made a bet on a Super Bowl that if the Packers lost, he'd have to get the final score tattooed on his butt, and the Packers lost, and he got the tattoo on his butt.
Wow. Was it the one against Denver?
That's the one.
Ooh.
Dedication.
See, I like when people make bets and own up to them. Like, I bet on the Packer-Vikings game. I believe it was one of the ones with Christian Ponder.
Oh.
I bet that I'd get the Friar Tuck. And if you haven't seen the Friar Tuck hairdo...
The Tim Tebow.
Yeah, it's the one that Tim Tebow got as a rookie hazing.
You got that haircut, Adam?
I was willing to go for it. They said no. They changed it up. I had to hold up a Packer helmet and use it as my Facebook profile picture for a week.
Oh, well, that's a lot.
Oh.
You kind of lucked out.
I was willing to do it. I made the bet. I go through with it. That's the way I do it. That's how I roll.
You know they do that in a lot of fantasy football leagues too. The loser, the absolute last place guy, has to get a tattoo of the winner's choosing.
That's the stupidest shit. Like, I would.
Well, I mean, you get to put it wherever you want. All these guys have it on their upper thigh or their butt, stuff like that. But I thought that was pretty funny. There's no way I would ever do that.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. And
some of those stakes are unbelievable. Whether it's money or pride or disfigurement or anything like that, it's something. Those games are incredible. Next week, we're going to be asking you, do you feel like Minnesota Vikings players and coaches should feel obligated to acknowledge and entertain fans when they see them in a casual setting. If you're out there and you see Teddy Bridgewater walking down the street and you say, "Hey Teddy," should he turn around? Should he wave? Or should he just keep walking? We'll talk about that.
That was a good one from Mr. Kyle West. We were just gonna throw that one around, but make that a social media
that's something
question.
that we
I'm
want to hear
very,
from you a little bit about.
very interested to see what people think about that.
Because we have very splintering opinions on this.
Mm-hmm.
So we
We
want
gotta-
to hear what you guys say before we give you our answers. I also have in the notes here Yahoo Survival League update, which I don't have in front of me, so I'm not going to do that. Head on over to the Facebook page, Purple People Podcast on Facebook. We've
I
got
like
the
how
post-
honest we are. You know that? We're like, I don't have it in front of me, so just go on the Facebook page.
I'm being
You'll find
absolutely lazy, but I posted it up there, and we still have that going. I think we lost 2 people this week.
We did.
There are no more undefeated teams.
Uh-oh.
The pieces are starting to fall. It won't be much longer before we finally have a winner. So good luck to everyone going forward. Everyone that's still in the competition, make sure you go and put your picks in, because you don't want to be that guy that loses later in the competition for not making a pick. You don't want to be him. You don't want to miss out on a chance to have a Vikings jersey just
Free
because you
jersey.
forgot to go in and
Free
just
jersey,
click.
yeah.
You don't want to be that guy. That's all I have for this week. Do you guys have anything else you want to add?
I have nothing. I'm in El Paso. I'll be in San Antonio soon, and then I'll be back in North Carolina. I'm going to be bouncing around doing this podcast thing from various states all over this great country. But hey,
You're out there
Thank
doing
you
your
guys
thing,
for-
which is good stuff.
thank you guys for accommodating too. We are going to do it last night, had a little bit of trouble, but thanks for everybody for sticking around, to include Adam and Kyle. Had a little technical difficulty. Sorry the podcast is a day later this week, but we got it done.
We also got a little more news out of it, so that's all right. Kyle West should be having another deal on his photography, I believe.
I am. I have an awesome piece that I made for my game ball winner, Stephon Diggs. I turned his catch, his outstretched catch, into a really cool design that you can get put on a t-shirt. But I am also going to run it as a promo piece. You can get it put on your wall in your Vikings man cave. You can take it to a game. You could have Stephon Diggs sign it. This is a really cool one. I really like it. So, yeah, give it a
stuff.
look. Check it. Buy my stuff over at KyleWestPhotography.com.
Buy my book.
Just buy my
Buy
stuff.
my
Give
book.
me your money. Actually, I do have something, guys. It just came to me. I'm going through clearing memory out of my phone. Funny stuff. I'm going to censor this because I want to keep the happy young ears good and clean. Today was a friend of mine at work's birthday. Humongous Packer fan. Wisconsin, everything. And Facebook reminded me, hey, tell your buddy Mike that it's his birthday. Any ideas to what I said?
Jeez, knowing you, I couldn't even begin.
Happy birthday, sir. I love and respect you.
Go Vikings, F your birthday.
Good job.
He
That's
laughed.
good.
He thought it was good. I love friends that can take it going, but I want to leave everybody with that. Tell all your Packer fans, go Vikings this week.
Well, I'm gonna do one more thing after that. If you are still sane and with it after that episode of The Walking Dead, head on over to Undead Walking and talk to me about that episode. Oh my goodness.
Probably need to talk it out with Mr. Carlson.
Oh
I
my.
don't even watch that show, and I knew what happened thanks to Facebook. That was insane.
So head on over and talk to us on Undead Walking. You can check out my work on the Viking Age Facebook page. I also am handling some of the stuff on the Viking Age Facebook page now, so you can talk to me there. Mr. Kyle Smith now is the man in charge of the Purple People Podcast Facebook page, even though me and Mr. West will be popping in there here and there. Mr. West and Mr. Smith will also be sharing duties on the Twitter handle at Purple People Pod. And with that, I'd like to thank you for listening, and remember to stay classy, Minnesota.